Welcome to our presentation on mixed methods design. Your presenters are Stephanie Hawthorne and Kimberly Mungle. Let's start with a definition. What is mixed methods research? A mixed methods research design is a procedure for collecting, analyzing, and mixing both quantitative and qualitative methods in a single study or a series of studies to understand a research problem. You must understand both quantitative and qualitative research to use this type of design. It is also important to note that this type of design can be time-consuming because you are not just using two distinct types of research. You are merging and connecting the research to create something new and gain a better understanding. When is mixed method design used? There are a few reasons you might want to use the mixed method design for your research. If you have access to both quantitative and qualitative data, and using both would provide a more holistic understanding of your research problem, then you should use both. Another reason to use mixed method design is when one type of data cannot adequately address your research problem or questions. In some instances, you may start with one type of data strand and realize you need to include another data set to extend, elaborate on, or explain the first set of data. An example of this might be that you started with a survey but needed to follow up with the participants with interviews. You can also use mixed method design when you want to provide an alternative perspective. For example, quantitative data can give you the numbers behind a research problem, but qualitative data can give you the stories. There are 6 types of mixed method designs. Convergent design. Convergent design collects both quantitative and qualitative data at the same point and then merges or converges the data, and the strengths and weaknesses of each data set supports one another. Explanatory sequential design. In explanatory sequential design, quantitative data is the first data set collected, and then qualitative data is collected to help explain the quantitative data. Exploratory sequential design. In exploratory sequential design, it is the opposite of explanatory. In exploratory sequential design, the qualitative data is collected first, and then the quantitative data is collected to explore the relationships found in the qualitative data. Experimental design. In experimental design, the research is adding qualitative data into an experiment. The qualitative data augments or supports the experimental procedure. Social justice design. The social justice design is a mixed method design in which a framework encases the convergent, explanatory, or exploratory sequential basic designs. It's often done with the participation of marginalized groups in a society and in communities. The typical frameworks found in mixed methods are feminist, racial, ethnic, disability, and gay or lesbian perspectives. Multi-stage evaluation design. Like the social justice design, the multi-stage builds on basic convergent, explanatory, and exploratory designs. Multi-stage evaluation designs are mixed method designs that are used when the researchers seek to evaluate the impact of a program or project. There are 8 key characteristics of mixed methods designs. 5 are major characteristics. Collecting and analyzing both quantitative and qualitative data is a key characteristic for all mixed method studies. The methods used to collect the 2 sets of data should be different from one another. For example, the quantitative data could be collected from documents and numeric scores used for analysis. The qualitative data could then be collected through interviews and the text transcribed. Another characteristic of a mixed method design is the use of rigorous methods. On Table 16.2 of the chapter, it displays features of rigorous methods. The recruitment of participants and the sample size are just 2 examples of common features. Integration, or the combining of the databases, is another key characteristic. The 2 sets of data need to be mixed together, either through merging the 2 sets of data, connecting one set to another, building one set into another, or embedding one set into another set. Also, a visual diagram is often used to display how the data is combined. Choosing a specific mixed method design, either basic or complex, is another key characteristic. This should be based on your intent, your familiarity with the design, the amount of time and resources you have available, and the common types of mixed method research most often found in your field. You want to frame your mixed method research with theories and philosophies. Social science and social justice theories are the most popular. Sometimes you might want to identify your worldview. In addition to the 5 key characteristics, there are 3 minor characteristics that should be mentioned in a mixed method study. First is the priority of your data on the quantitative data, the qualitative data, or both. Ask yourself the following questions to help determine the priority. Do you emphasize the exploration or prediction more in your purpose statement? In your methods and results section, which data do you give the most attention to? And which data do you examine the most in depth? Second, is the sequence of your data collection concurrent, sequential, or both? You have multiple options for collecting your data. They can be collected at the same time. Quantitative data can be collected first and qualitative data second, or qualitative data can be collected first and quantitative data collected second. And third, is there a visualization of your procedure you can provide in the study? The visualization should indicate the process for your data collection, analysis, and interpretation. What are some potential ethical issues with mixed method research? Mixed method design utilizes both quantitative and qualitative research methods, so attention to ethical issues that may arise in both types of those research types should be addressed. For quantitative, that would be things like ensuring proper permission is obtained and anonymity of participants is protected. For qualitative, it would be things like ensuring the researcher is transparent about the purpose of the study, and also that he or she is sensitive and aware of power issues, vulnerable populations, and indigenous cultures. There are also ethical issues that can arise that are specific to mixed method basic designs. In a convergent design, the quantitative or qualitative sample sizes may be different. Care needs to be taken to not minimize the importance of a sample because of size. In explanatory design, due to follow-up quantitative data with interviews, the researcher needs to ensure he or she is protecting the participants' original desires of anonymity and sharing of survey data. In experimental design, the researcher must be careful to remain unbiased or influenced by the data as the experiment is proceeding. In social justice design, the issue of qualitative data influencing the outcomes may arise. In multi-stage design, ethical issues can arise when needs of participants are overlooked in favor of existing models in literature. 7 steps are typically used when performing a mixed method study. First, you want to identify if a mixed method design is feasible. Do you have the skills, the time, the knowledge, and the correct audience to present a mixed method study to? If the method is feasible, you want to identify the rationale for collecting both sets of data. Each type of mixed method design has a specific intent behind it. Do you want to use the qualitative data to further explain the quantitative results? Then an explanatory sequential design would be best. Next, you need to identify the data collection strategy. What forms of data are you collecting? What priority will you give to each data, and how will you sequence the data? You will also need to develop your research questions. This can be done prior to the study, or they can emerge during the study depending on your specific design. You also might want to pose a mixed method research question in addition to or instead of. A mixed methods research question is one that is answered by the design being used. For example, how does the qualitative data help to explain the quantitative data collected in this study? Step 5 may seem obvious, but it is the key to a mixed methods study. You need to collect both qualitative and quantitative data. The sequence of collection should be based on which design you choose. Keep in mind, in all designs, this phase of the research will be lengthy and require good organization of the information. The 6th step in a mixed method study is to analyze the 2 sets of data. If performing an explanatory or exploratory design, the data will be analyzed separately from one another. If performing a convergent design, the data will be merged and integrated for analysis. Lastly, you need to write your report. You have several choices when writing a mixed method research study: one phase, two phases, or multi-phases. In a single-phase report, the data is integrated into each section of the report. In a two-phase or multi-phase, after the introduction and literature review, there should be sections for data collection, analysis, and interpretation with subsections for each set of data. Now that you're more familiar with how to use mixed methods research, you'll want to know how to evaluate one. When reading mixed methods research studies, there are specific qualities you want to look for that make it high quality. The title of the research study should specifically say mixed methods or call out the specific design type. For example, a study located in the American Behavioral Sciences Journal is titled Transformative Mixed Methods: Addressing Inequities. Next, both qualitative and quantitative data should be collected and analyzed in the study. This should be specifically called out in the methods section of the written report. The researcher should also mention the specific way the two sets of data are integrated. For example, does one set of data build off the other, or are they converged together to make one larger set of meaningful data? In the methods section of the report, the researcher should mention the specific design study with an explanation and, if possible, a visual diagram. And lastly, the literature review should also cite other mixed method studies found in peer-reviewed journals in the same area of research. Here are a few tips for using mixed methods research. If you're going to be using a mixed method design for your research study, there are a couple of things you might want to consider. According to our textbook, when selecting a mixed method design, you have taken on a challenging project. It is easier to conduct an explanatory or exploratory study than a convergent study. You should consider the intent of your research study and which design you are going to use prior to determining the priority and sequence of your study. And you should try to create a diagram to show the steps in the process you selected. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about mixed methods designs. Here are some additional resources and a list of our references.